Helicopter flying. 10.1 Advanced Flight Maneuvers. Mastering reconnaissance for safe landings and takeoffs. Aviators. When you're diving into land or take off from unfamiliar spots, it's all about the reconnaissance game, the helicopter version of know before you go. High Reconnaissance. First off, climb to a sweet spot, around 300 to 500 feet up. This high reconnaissance is like getting the lay of the land at a bird's eye view. Check wind, find a good touchdown spot, suss out the landing area, and keep an eye on obstacles. Balance is key, not too high, not too low. Stick to a 45-degree angle for a solid assessment. And remember, always have enough altitude to play it safe if your engine decides to nap mid-air. Low Reconnaissance. As you swoop in for the landing, double-check what you scoped from up high. Look out for surprises like sneaky wires or unexpected slopes. Decide to land or abort the mission before dropping below effective translational lift, ETL. If you're landing, hover for a sec to make sure your touchdown zone is good to go. Keep those revolutions per minute steady until you're sure you're sitting pretty. Ground Reconnaissance. Before you kick off from an unfamiliar zone, take a good look around. Plan your escape route, watch out for obstacles, and factor in wind and what kind of ground you're dealing with, be it dust, snow, mud, or rocks. Dust and snow landings might give you a limited view, so watch out for that. And keep an eye on that tail rotor, it can be a bit touchy on uneven ground. And let's not forget wind, it can throw a curveball your way. Check out the treetops, sniff out some smoke, or peek at the water ripples to get a feel for the wind. If you're still unsure, go back to the last update from Automatic Terminal Information Service or the airport tower. Maximum Performance Takeoff. Let's chat about something useful, the maximum performance takeoff. It's like a cool move when you've got to climb real steep to clear obstacles during takeoff, especially in those tricky spots surrounded by tall barriers. Now, you could go for a vertical takeoff, but that's not your first choice unless you're not sure about clearing those obstacles. So, before you pull off this trick, make sure you know your helicopter inside out and consider things like wind, temperature, density, altitude, gross weight, and center of gravity. To make this takeoff a success, you've got to ensure there's enough power for an out-of-ground effect hover. A hover power check will help you confirm this. Now, the climb angle depends on a bunch of factors, and in tricky conditions, you might need to start in the shaded areas of the height-velocity diagram. Just be mindful of the calculated risk. And remember, if you're low and slow, and the engine gives up, you've got to master the skill of a safe autorotative landing. Technique. Let's cut to the chase on the maximum performance takeoff technique. First, position the helicopter downwind for an extended takeoff climb. Hover, assess excess power, and perform a balance check. If conditions allow, briefly touch down into the wind. Commence the maneuver from the surface, scan for obstacles, and note reference points for your takeoff path. Now, for the takeoff. 1. Start light on the skids, see figure, position 1. 2. Gradually raise the collective and position the cyclic for liftoff at a 40-knot attitude. 3. Keep increasing collective until max power is reached, about 10% above hover power, maintaining pedal pressure for heading, see figure, position 2. 4. Use cyclic as needed to guide your flight path and climb angle, see figure, position 3. 5. Maintain max rotor revolutions per minute, avoid allowing it to drop. 6. Sustain inputs until clearing the obstacle or reaching 50 feet for demo purposes, see figure, position 4. Transition to a regular climb attitude and power setting, see figure, position 5. If forward airspeed isn't an option, consider a vertical takeoff. 1. Descend vertically back into the confined area. 2. Avoid accelerating until clearing surrounding obstacles. 3. Keep in mind, this keeps the helicopter in the avoid area of the height-velocity diagram longer. This maneuver requires hover out-of-ground effect power. Now, let's talk about some common slip-ups, ignoring performance data, including the height-velocity diagram. Diving in with the nose too low, leading to horizontal instead of vertical flight. Forgetting to keep that revolutions per minute at the max. Throwing around abrupt control movements. Skipping the part where you get back to normal climb power and airspeed after clearing the obstacle. So, that's the lowdown on the maximum performance takeoff. Running or rolling takeoff. Running or rolling takeoffs are handy helicopter maneuvers, especially when conditions or weight make hovering a challenge. Picture this. A helicopter with fixed landing gear or wheels, like skids or floats, gracefully lifting off without the usual hover. It's a strategic move, useful when a sustained hover isn't feasible due to factors like load, density, altitude, or downwash concerns during a hover takeoff. However, it's crucial to have enough power to hover momentarily. Otherwise, things might get unpredictable. The key is finding a smooth, obstacle-free area for a safe lift-off. Technique. Look at figure before diving into this maneuver. Align your helicopter with the takeoff path, increase the throttle for takeoff revolutions per minute, and gently raise the collective until the helicopter lightens on the skids or landing gear, position 1. If lifting off from water, ensure the floats are mostly out. Nudge the cyclic slightly forward, add more collective for forward movement, position 2. Aim for slightly less manifold pressure or torque during practice. Keep the landing gear pointed in the takeoff direction to avoid rollover. Maintain a straight path with lateral cyclic and heading. As effective translational lift kicks in, the helicopter lifts off in a level attitude, position 3. Keep an altitude for ground effect, let airspeed climb. Follow a climb profile through the clear zone of the height velocity diagram, position 4. In practice, at 50 feet, set the normal climb power and attitude. Note: running takeoffs are close to or exceed the helicopter's max operating weight for conditions. Adhere to height, velocity parameters, ascend to a safe altitude in line with the diagram. When you're going for a running or rolling takeoff, keep these common pitfalls in mind. First off, make sure you align your heading and ground track properly to minimize surface friction. Avoid the temptation to lift off too early before getting that effective translational lift. During the surface run, be cautious not to overdo it with forward cyclic. Once airborne, resist the urge to lower the nose too much, preventing an undesired descent back to the surface. Lastly, stay below the recommended altitude until you hit that normal climb speed. That's a key part of the game plan. Now let's explore auto-rotation. Auto-rotation in a helicopter is like a controlled glide when the engine decides to call it a day. It's a power-off move triggered by factors like engine failure. Picture the rotor blades becoming wings, catching the wind for a descent. Lower the altitude lever, collective, and you smoothly descend, landing with finesse using the rotor's stored energy. Adjusting the cyclic manages your speed, and the collective fine-tunes the descent. It's about gracefully navigating a power-off scenario, ensuring a safe descent using the helicopter's inherent abilities. Revolutions per minute control. In the world of helicopter auto-rotation, mastering rotor revolutions per minute control is vital. Imagine a coordinated dance of aft cyclic, down collective, and trim alignment during entry, swift and synchronized moves. The collective lever conducts the revolutions per minute orchestra, up to bring it down and down to crank it up. The cyclic, typically an attitude star, takes a dual role, boosting revolutions per minute when pulled aft in a trimmed position. Now, picture cruising when the engine decides to take a break. Quick reflexes are key. Lower the collective to prevent a nosedive, but don't delay the simultaneous aft cyclic move. It's a swift dance routine, especially crucial for low-inertia rotor systems. In this mid-air choreography, the golden rule is to avoid overspeeding the rotor system. It's a delicate balance, an art form ensuring a smooth auto-rotation entry and descent. Always be ready for this aerial performance. It's your helicopter's way of saying, showtime. Risk management during auto-rotation training. In the realm of auto-rotation training, caution is paramount. Advisory Circular AC 61140 provides guidelines, emphasizing the 180-degree auto-rotation, a maneuver laden with inherent risks. Auto-rotation training, a pivotal aspect of helicopter flight training, follows these guidelines. They offer an approved pathway for aspiring pilots seeking a helicopter airman certificate. It's crucial to note that while these guidelines provide one approach, alternative methods are acceptable, provided they align with the Helicopter Flying Handbook, HFH, Federal Aviation Administration Practical Test Standards, PTS, and the Rotorcraft Flight Manual, RFM. The key lies in flexibility, ensuring safety and regulatory compliance, as auto-rotation training unfolds. Straight-in auto-rotation. In a straight-in auto-rotation, you're descending from up high without any turns. The wind plays a role, a strong headwind steepens your descent. Imagine cruising at 60 knots with a 15-knot headwind, your ground speed drops to 45 knots. The drop rate stays the same, but touchdown and rollout depend on that ground speed. Watch out for the tail rotor during the touchdown, it's close to the ground. Mess up the timing, and you risk hitting it, causing a forward tip and potential damage. Having a headwind helps for a softer touchdown and less need to slow down. It's like nature's way of making things smoother. But nail the timing and speed during your descent, crucial, especially with a lighter rotor. Quick tip. Ease up on the collective too soon, and you might burn through kinetic energy too fast, leading to a hard landing. Sometimes, opting for a bit more ground run is a wise trade-off for a gentler landing, especially as you get comfy with auto-rotations. Technique. How to practice. To practice auto-rotations, start from level flight at the recommended airspeed, about 500 to 700 feet above ground level. Lower the collective firmly, use aft cyclic to prevent a nose-low attitude, and maintain rotor revolutions per minute in the green arc, showing in figure. Adjust throttle for a clean split, then coordinate collective movement with anti-torque pedal for trim and apply cyclic to maintain airspeed. Adjust attitude with cyclic and collective and begin the flare at the recommended altitude. Maintain rotor revolutions per minute in the green range during the flare. Control ground speed and altitude, and transition to the landing attitude with forward cyclic. Use collective for a controlled descent, and touch down in level flight attitude. After touchdown, lower the collective to the full down position, and avoid holding the helicopter off the surface. Allow it to settle for a smooth landing. Let's talk auto-rotation training pitfalls. 1. Recognize and react immediately to power failure for auto-rotation. 2. Don't skimp ORPM and anti-torque pedal use when reducing power. 3. Avoid a sudden nose drop when reducing power to prevent a dive. 4. Keep rotor in check throughout the descent, it's crucial. 5. Be cautious with up collective pitch at high altitudes to prevent hard landings. 6. Aim for a level helicopter and follow the recommended landing attitude. 7. Steer clear of lateral movement during ground contact for a smooth auto-rotation. 8. Maintain a steady ground track and align landing gear with the travel direction. 9. If you're outside safe auto-rotation limits during practice, go around. 9. Safety matters. Practicing power failure in a hover. Practicing power failure while hovering, a crucial skill for pilots facing engine stoppage. These techniques apply to helicopters with a counterclockwise rotor disc and an anti-torque rotor. Imagine you're hovering in a helicopter, about 2 to 3 feet off the ground, wind in your face, and revolutions per minute maxed out. Now, simulate a power failure by smoothly rolling the throttle to idle. As the engine disconnects from the rotor, use the anti-torque pedal and a touch of cyclic to keep your heading and prevent drifting. Your helicopter settles immediately, maintain a level attitude, and avoid any lateral movement to prevent rollover. As you approach about 1 foot above the ground, smoothly apply upward collective control for a soft landing. Remember, helicopters with high inertia rotor discs settle more gradually, so adjust your collective timing. Use cyclic for a level attitude and keep your heading with the anti-torque pedals. Once all the weight is on the landing gear, stop applying upward collective, then lower it to the full down position. Timing is key here. Too early, and you risk a hard landing. Too late, and you might not have enough pitch for a gentle touch. And remember, never use collective to keep the helicopter off the surface, as this could lead to blade stall and potential damage. Common errors in hovering auto-rotation practice. 1. Not using enough anti-torque pedal when reducing power. 2. Allowing sideward or backward movement before touchdown. 3. Improper application of up collective pitch, leading to a hard landing. 4. Touching down with an uneven attitude. 5. Not fully rolling the throttle to idle. 6. Hovering at an unsafe altitude for the helicopter in conditions. 7. Not initiating a go-around when outside safe auto-rotation limits. Multi-engine emergency operations. Single engine failure. Let's talk about single engine failure in helicopters. When one engine gives up, it's a race against variables like weight, altitude, airspeed, and more to find a safe landing spot. Identifying the failing engine is crucial, no yawing here like in planes. Even in multi-engine choppers, keep that rotor revolutions per minute in check to avoid the nightmare of both engines conking out due to fuel issues. Caution and control, folks, are the name of the game. Dual engine failure. Exploring dual engine failure scenarios in helicopters. When both engines call it quits, it's like handling a power on descent. The upside? Full control can be maintained during auto-rotation. Keep an eye on airspeed though. Above 70 to 80 knots, your descent rate and glide distance shoot up. Below 60 knots, descent rate increases, and glide distance takes a hit. So, it's a game of speed and control in the auto-rotation scenario. If you click like and subscribe and leave a comment, we will provide a coupon for a free PDF download, one of 9 ebooks. However, each individual can only download up to 1 out of 9 ebooks for free.